Kia ora e tewi, nau mai, tauti mai, ko te Huanui o Whai Rawa tēnei, and we are talking about Māori entrepreneurship, the Māori economy. Where to from here? So I have a Māori entrepreneur with me, Rochelle Carley. He nui rawa atu o mahi. You've got so many jobs. I think you better describe for yourself exactly what you do.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Stacey. So I guess my main role, or what I do, is as a financial advisor. So I specialise in life and health insurance. So the things that relate to your health rather than the things that you own, like car, house, contents, etc. Off to the side of that, I'm also a trustee of a trust that my business has set up. It's a charity and it's all about empowering wahine in financial literacy. So I do that, and then the hats I wear within the business is also marketing specialist, business and growth, employment, etc. Yeah.
We're in really safe hands here.
Yeah.
So you know lots of things. So wahine wana ki angi tū.
Yeah.
So tell us first of all about what you are aiming to achieve, and I guess bring out that wana in our wahine.
Yes, yeah. So I guess when we first started the charity, it was my business partner and I, Philly. She and I sit down every year and go through all the things that we're going to do next and what that looks like. And often that's from a marketing perspective. How can we reach more? How can we protect more whānau? How can we reach our target market as such, which is in general wahine, Māori, Pacifica environments. And I said to her, I was like, I really want to do something that we're reaching, but we're also making a difference at the same time. And she was like, I agree, what does that look like? So from a charitable perspective, it was about bringing financial literacy and financial foundations, staying in our lane, so the stuff that we already knew without having to make it this big thing, and pulling people out of their comfort zone to see what we could teach them. So what this looks like, and we've had our first events this year, is keynote speaker events. So finding wahine that you want to meet, you want to see, that can tell you their stories, that can teach you a little bit. So we had Te Kahukura Boynton from Māori Millionaire, we had Tegan from My FM, we had Sarah Brown from Share's Not Your Rehab, Courtney Manu, who is yeah, and I wouldn't want to say influencer because she'd hate that, but a creator, a content creator, and ourselves, and Janelle Ricky from Ricky Consultancy was our MC because the Rickies can talk, all languages. Yeah, and that was about, we had it in Ōtautahi earlier this year, and that was about getting whānau, getting women out of their comfort zone and into a place. There were goodie bags. It was a beautiful day of laughing, of crying, of overcoming kind of the feelings when we talk about money. And then after that, it's about actual practical, so workshops people sign up to, and there's a 3-part series that we run. All the time, effort, etc. that we put in as a business, R&P Insurance, we don't charge the trust for it, and we go out and we get funding from insurance companies, communities, so that we can make these free or
brokers, really, that same sort of model.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And it was hard in that first round to find that support. I would say R&P, we probably funded quite a good chunk of it, but our next round, which is due to be in Pōneke next year, we've got some backing there from insurance companies, which is really great to see.
So she hustles.
Basically. Yes. Yeah. I don't ask for money for myself, but for anybody else, yes.
But what I'm hearing as well, I mean, personally, I think it's a good hui if everyone's crying, but you mentioned that the tears come because you're overcoming feelings about money. What are those core feelings that really trigger the tears and trigger, I guess, what you called comfort zones that we sometimes stay in?
Yeah, I think if I hadn't, I began my being in finance journey when I was 18 as a teller at a bank, and if I had never been in that role and moved my way through roles, I would never have stepped into a bank. Even now, from the perspective that there isn't anybody that looks like me, who understands me, who's been through anything I've been through. And I think knowing that the people on the stage, when they're talking to you, have been you at one point in your life, and that's the overcoming part. I stood up, like I became pregnant and became a mama at 17. to share that and share the journey, I can't stand here and be, you know, I can't stand up there and go, hey, so financial success looks like, without there being a story, and every single person on that stage has that.
Well, you can't, but that's quite a specific and important thing for us as Māori to give that whole kōrero. But in some finance settings, it's just like, obviously we're going to talk about the EBITDA, and we're going to acronym out. So those are things that are quite hard to relate to.
100%. And, you know, our clients will come to me specifically because I'm Māori and be like, I want you to look after me because I know you get me. I know you understand that my income's not just for me, it's for my whole whānau. So we have a few, you know, whānau scenarios, and I teach the people who work with us this as well if they're not from that setting. But I think, just overcoming those barriers of thinking, just because I haven't seen it before, it doesn't mean it's not for me. And I've got a really, good habit, I used to say bad, a really good habit of putting myself in places where I don't look like I belong. Banking, insurance, I play golf. But I do stuff like that because I go, well, if I take that first brave step, then other people will follow. And I meet other people like this and I'm like, great, let's all do this together. Let's get in this waka together and pull other wahine with us. It is powerful when you get in a room of women that have so much passion for the right things, where it's planet, people, profit, the things that can happen, and that's like, it's just mind-blowing. All the small businesses I've connected with, all the people with beautiful skills that I've met, or, you know, people in executive roles that I'm like, I met this person at this event and she would be great on your you know, like...
So you're a
unintentional
conduit.
Networking.
Yeah. You're kaitaka wainga, and so you're bringing people together because you see opportunities from one sphere and maybe who aren't talking to the people over here. When you talk about financial literacy and those emotions, a theme that's coming through in our kōrero here is feeling worthy, worthy of money. Happy he o whakaaro, what do you think about it?
Yeah, and that's still a journey I'm on, if I'm honest. And growing up, if I talk about the two different sides, it was someone who had never had any money and probably appeared to have no respect for it, and then someone who held onto it like it was the only thing in the world, and I would go back and forth in that space. And I think my mindset is money is a tool to give you time to do the things that you want to do and what's important to you, and having a goal and a vision of that. And mine has been very, very confirmed this year of being able to have you know, like communal living with my daughter and her children one day and our friends. So it's, okay, that's the purpose and that's where it's going, instead of the earning money for money's sake and being proud of that. Because I could earn lots, and this is a very, what's the word for it? There's a lot of money in this industry, but I'm not going to go to my grave proud of that. And I think a part of being in the trust and helping others attain generational wealth in the way that fits their values is really important to me, because it's the journey I'm on as well.
Yeah, so that collective ownership, collective responsibility always comes in. What do you think also are the differences between Pākehā Māori and general businesses? Because we talk about Māori economy, but sometimes don't always break it down to what are the differences of practice that actually we see.
In our business, the most important thing is doing the right thing, adding value, following our values, and the rest of that will come naturally, and then we get to choose what we do with it as individuals. A little bit of background in the way that our business is set up. So there's R&P Insurance, and then we've got 3 advisors, and we've got our admin support person, Izzy. She goes to uni with my daughter. It's quite cute. And we, and so we are, and we always will be 50% Māori or Pacifica as a team, and we will grow. But our business is, everyone has a business within the business, and so we're an R&P brand. But if you think about like Harcourts as such, they've got that, and then you own your own little business within that, and we do all the marketing and we help out, etc. We're a really close team.
So it's sort of like a franchise, sort of.
Yeah. But we go, each individual advisor has the opportunity to grow their own little business within the safety of a business and the support, and there's a lot of regulation, so you need that, to build their own generational wealth, and however that looks for them, and reach those goals as well. And that's something at the forefront of my mind, that when we continue to bring on advisors or I don't want to say staff, that just feels very transactional. And
also hierarchical.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I never say work for me, it's work with me.
Yeah. Well, that partnership is important, and especially in a charity space as well. It's not that I'm helping you, it's that you're partnering with me so that we can achieve the goals that I have for this charity. Yeah. And therefore it's not I'm, mako koe āwhina. It's more that we're working together. Yeah. But it feels more purposeful. Obviously, I can see you light up when you talk about these hui. So it actually feeds your wairua as well, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's no good deed, like selfish good deed, right? And it does make me feel good. If I'm ever going through something, I will pour myself into people things and into the charity side of things, and work on events, because then it just lifts me back up again into that space, because it just gives me life.
So those are structural differences that you're talking about in Pakehi Māori, our structure of a company and expectations of whanaungatanga and manaakitanga and how we work together. Those are kind of definers for Pakehi Māori. And then what about Māori economy? Because I know, like, when they need a good news story, we go, but the Māori economy, it's doing great. And of course, iwi, post-settlement iwi, like Ngāi Tahu, we often get heralded. But what do you think Māori economy actually means? Like, how can we all participate in a Māori economy?
It's knowing where you put your money and be comfortable where you put your money. And, if you need something in your home, if you want something to wear, it's searching that little bit, going that extra step to find it, and going with Te Ao Māori values as well, so sustainability and all of those things, and people, and making sure it's not just about profit, and digging that little bit extra. And I think we've gotten really good at that, where we see something that is, it's all Māori, like on show it looks right, and then you dig a little bit deeper and it's like, well, actually the profits aren't going to a Māori family. As a small business, we do client gifts. I search on Instagram or any other, because
maybe like these ones.
Yeah, they're beautiful. Or you go to Buy Māori, and I just make a post and I say, hey, I'm looking for this, and we have the most beautiful pounamu key rings that we give our clients, and it's after we've put the insurance in place, we go, okay, plan B's in place, here's a little taonga to protect you while you live plan A. And that just, for me, it doesn't matter whether the client is Māori or not, everybody feels it. Yeah. And I think, and that's a whānau of 10 who sit there and make these by hand for me, and we talk and we go back and forth, and I know that money is going directly into their pockets and into their whānau. And I think from Māori economy perspective, when you keep, because it's just going round and round and round, and it's getting more and more, and
circular economy.
Thank you. Yep, these fancy words here, I don't do economy talk that much, because for me, I try to keep words simple, because I work in insurance, and there's, again, acronyms and insurance language. But I think that's it. It's knowing where your money is spent, keeping an eye on things. I read a lot of reports, especially Wahine Māori. There is a recent report around the unpaid contribution we make to the economy, which is massive. And I think it's just taking that on, and I don't want to undo that, but I think acknowledging it is really important.
So that's things like always, the unpaid mahi at home, paying bills, having the conversations with insurers, all those kind of things.
Yes, and if you've got a partner who's in business and doing the admin and other bits and pieces that come along with it, or doing the marketing unpaid, I think that's a huge part of it. And so I always read reports, etc. through that. But whenever, I'm just incredibly proud, and I think it's a way, if you're speaking to someone that you're trying to, bring on as a client, or tell them why you're important, and you know that their bottom line is profit, and that's the most important thing. And I do this all the time at insurance events. So when I'm trying to, prove that Māori business is important, I'm like, this is the economy. Do you want to report? If this is what matters to you, then you need to get in here, which is what I do a lot with insurance companies. And
so you use things like age demographics. Māori are young, Māori have, are ready to spend, and then maybe you talk about big iwi entities, and that's what they relate to.
Yes, yeah. And I'm like, so if you don't start now, it'll move without you. And I've started getting some traction within that. It's really hard to turn, but I've started getting some traction with that. And one way we will do this is we will build our team massively. And when I talk about our team, we all work remotely at home. We do everything on, like Zoom or phone. We're across the country. We're very active on social media. Everything's easy and low cost. We're not a bums on seats scenario. I am available between 9 to 5 for our stuff, unless it's an emergency. And when we grow our team across the country like that, that gives us the power to have a say at the table and the change in what the industry looks like, and to support Māori, because we do need insurance. We're at the bottom of all the health stats. If I can connect iwi with health insurers and just get those pre-existing conditions covered, just like all these things, those are things that matter to me, whilst helping all of these people who we bring into our team to bring in a great income in an easy way, where they still get to look after their pepe and go to be a mum, or if they don't want to have children, they still get to have fun with their friends and just have a job they enjoy.
Yeah. And you deserve that.
Yeah.
It's one of the things I think about with insurance, when people are struggling and literally just trying to feed their whānau, then insurance feels like a luxury.
Yeah.
So what do you do in that situation? Can we think bigger even when we're in a pretty tough situation?
Yes. And the reason I know it's doable is I've seen so many of my clients, but also myself. I've had life insurance since my daughter was born, and I wasn't receiving a lot of income, but it was just, and single mama, generally, this conversation's quite easy. They just go, no, it just becomes like a normal thing, like the power or food or something like that.
So at 18 you went, this is me and my girl, so that's your responsibility, so the life insurance was had to be.
Yeah. Oh, she didn't have a relationship with her father, and so it was just, that's always been my main concern, is what happens to her. My family don't have any money, so if I can leave her something that will help her through school, etc., then I'll do that. She's made it to 18 now, and I still have life insurance for her because just the way things are set up. But I understand budgets and everything. Honestly, a little bit of life insurance, even just for tangi, isn't actually that expensive. And I think having someone that you can just talk to, and it doesn't have to be done straight away. It can be, okay, here's maybe some budget things that we could think about. Here's some ways you could earn some more money in future, and then you can come back to me when you're ready. It's not has to be done right here, right now.
But you're also investing in peace of mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're also, I guess, showing your daughter your sense of responsibility towards her, and that you're thinking of her investing in her ahakoa pēhea no matter what happens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it sounds better when you talk about it like that, because sometimes insurance. It's a
hard 100%. And that's the thing, when people are like, I don't know, surprised when I will explain something really well, not to do with insurance, and I'm like, of course, I work in insurance, like I can,
And that's really important, to speak in a way that people go, okay, I get it. So in terms of financial literacy, which is just understanding about money, what are some of the key things you really want people watching to know that sometimes feels a little bit confusing, but actually when you break it down, it's really understandable?
Yeah, I think the budgeting, and actually it's easier to set one, but I think watching what you're spending and then referring back to the budget is probably the eye-opener. And I know it's scary, but that's where you're going to find where things aren't quite adding up. And another one, like, you can't budget your way out of poverty. I'm not. And other financial advisors will say the same thing. So then it's looking at ways that you can earn more money. How do we side hustle? How do we upskill so we can move into a better role? How can we, I know it's not necessarily a te ao Māori way to be like, let's do more, let's do more, let's do more. But we're in the world that we're in. And so there are some small ways that you can do that. So I think budgeting and taking note of your spending. There's food at home.
It's so fun to go out, but even that coffee, don't worry, I'm having this conversation with my teenagers,
Yeah, and my daughter as well. I'm like, did you eat breakfast before we go somewhere? And she's like, nah, can we just eat out? And I'm like, I just, that's $30, $40 we could have saved, and wouldn't you rather that go on something else? So something I taught her really early on was a budget and keep an eye on where you spend your money, but having buckets of accounts. So savings, long-term savings, she's got to get a koha account for when she needs to do koha, and then her spending, and she knows how much she has to spend each week. Once it's gone, it's gone. And her friends will be like, Manaya, let's go out. She's like, no, spend money's gone.
Yeah. And then when you talk about side hustles, it can be, I always love how my daughter makes $50 on some clothing that she resells.
Oh, yeah.
That
we bought. Yeah.
Like, that's great, you made money for the free thing.
Yes.
But I respect the hustle.
Yes, exactly. So that, or what was something else my daughter did? She's got like one of those nail kind of kit things, which is like a gel nail kit, and she might do somebody's nails for $20 or something at uni, which is like $60 to get done anywhere else. Again, I bought her that, but whatever. And she does everyone's makeup and hair, and there's little ways that you can do that. Or I tell her, eat at the halls because I'm paying for that.
Yeah. Now that is awesome. Mama's paying for that. When we talk about entrepreneurship, Māori entrepreneurship, particularly in this world of, say, AI, of new frontiers in that way, because it is a technological revolution, really.
Yeah.
What do you see as opportunities for us as Māori entrepreneurs?
Ooh. I just think it's easier now to start a business. It's easier to gain access to the information that you need. I think AI will only continue to get better, but as long as you see that as an opportunity rather than something that's going to take from you, advice, the way that we give advice, is always going to be better than AI. Like, we've always had the internet to tell us how things are, but I don't know if you've ever put insurance in place and felt 100% that it's actually, when you go to claim, that it's actually going to pay out, right? Yeah. Whereas our clients know when they come to us, we know exactly the paperwork they need. We know we will take care of it. We keep them in the loop. It goes faster. Like, it's just, and they don't pay for that benefit of having us with them. So I think, entrepreneurship, I think it's easier, but it's also, there's like two sides. Have a plan, but don't overthink it. Like, you've got to start, and you need to start with something. I say that, but I kind of started with nothing. The reason I started my business was because we went through COVID. My daughter was 14 at the time, and she was mental health-wise struggling. And I was at home, and I could see it happening. I was working 60, 70-hour weeks. She went to a really amazing, one of the best private schools in the country in Christchurch here, and she fit so well in there, but I couldn't actually pay for her to be there on my salary alone. I had to get bonuses, so that was a driver for me to work harder. In some situations, when you give more, they just take more. And I watched her mental health decline really quickly, and I was like, I can't keep doing this. So I took myself out and started a business and never looked back, really. Definitely some scary times, but I think from an entrepreneurship point of view, the business I went into, whilst everybody thinks insurance is hard because it's not like a beautiful product that everybody agrees is beautiful. I'm not giving...
And it feels fun buying?
Yeah, I'm not physically... There's no dopamine hit from buying insurance. But it actually is a bit... it is something that, whilst it's a grudge purchase, everybody needs it. And so if you're set up well and you've got a good mindset, it is actually a really good industry to step into, and something that will continue to give back to you financially, and like to your soul as well, especially when you're helping people with claims. Whereas I think if I went into a product business, I just think the back and forth, it's just very, very different, a service and product business.
Transactional kind of aspect. So I guess a thread through your kōrero is about how your purpose will lead you.
Correct, yes.
And if it feels like something you just want to do, then that's the flow, that's the waiter is with you, and it's always a good sign, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think having people around you that are going, that have that skill and you respect their opinion, to kind of just bounce ideas off and different things is really important. Being a business owner can be very lonely. We find even in our business it's very lonely because whilst there's plenty of insurance people around, no one runs their business the same as we do. Every single advice, or all the advice we were given, we've never followed because it just didn't feel right.
Except for your nannies or your aunties, I'm sure.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm terrible. I don't like being told what to do. But whenever people will be like, "Oh, you need to do this. You need to buy a book. You need to monetize." Somebody even said that I should monetize the charity. And this is what I mean about the insurance industry. It's just money, 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 money. And I was like, I think you've missed the whole point. But we've gotten so used to it, and we just stay in our lane and we do our thing, and it pays off because when people find us, they go, "You're the right person for us." But I think from an entrepreneurship point of view, passion, drive, consistency, when that stuff kind of starts to peter off, I get bored really quickly.
To find the next maunga.
I was like, I need to, my favourite bird is a pīwakawaka. So it's just that.
Yes,
does that make sense?
That's you. Tō raka, I can see
what else
that.
can I do? I'll just flutter by, and that has having that consistency. And I think me having a business partner, and we're complete opposites with the same values, which is a relationship, right? Yeah. Generally, my partner's the same, and you just always kind of come back to your values and your core purpose, and that kind of stuff. Whereas, what are we, nearly 5 years in now, and I've only started getting boundaries in when I work and how I work, and the the mātauranga that I give and the energy I give people, because I'm not just Rochelle, financial advisor. I'm business owner, I'm marketer, I also new people that come into the industry, I do mentoring as well, and there's quite a bit of, I just want to help everybody and do everything, but I've gotten a lot better at kind of protecting the energy as well.
You talked about investing in your time as well. Hei Huanui, and that is one thing that comes out of it, but so many amazing gems out of your kōrero today.
Thank you.
E mihi nui ana ki a koe, and no doubt, I feel like more entrepreneurs are just brewing on the other side of that camera. Kia ora, Rochelle.
Hopefully, thank you.
Tēnā koe.